Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. This week is a serious topic. It is a hot topic right now with my clients, with you guys on social media. And please excuse if I get a little bit passionate because at the moment I feel a little bit like a broken record, but this whole video needs to be said, okay? I really want to talk about using the scales for measuring your progress or your success. You've probably heard trainers, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you look online, of people talking about the scales not being the best method for measuring your progress or your success. And depending on, I should say, where you're at in your journey, it will either make a lot of sense to you or it might actually sound really crazy. Firstly, everyone begins with measuring their success or their progress by using the scales as either maybe their only method of measurement, or maybe it's their main method of measuring their progress. Even people that don't train actually use the scales for this, like you guys would totally know. Secondly though, at a certain point, everyone advances to using alternate methods as their main measurement tool, and may refer every now and again back to the scales, maybe for a competition or something like that, just to kind of check in. So what is the point that all of this happens, and how, I guess, can you get there? Does it really matter how you measure your progress? And maybe what should you specifically be doing to measure this? So firstly, let's go through the benefits of each option. And once we're done with that, I'll actually talk about how often I measure my own progress and the ways that I do it, and also why. So let's start with the scales, okay? There's absolutely nothing wrong with weighing yourself as long as you've got a healthy relationship with the scales. As long as, I guess, you understand maybe how your body works and what that number on the scale actually reflects. If it's made up of, muscle, water, fat, rather than, or I should say it's made up of all of that rather than just your dress size, The scales, like I said before, are the most used method for measuring, and it is crazy to think that it is. If you think back to when you first used the scale, you might have put on, say, 5 kilos on a holiday, and then you don't fit into, maybe it's your dress or your jeans or your bikini anymore. So what happens is you associate your weight with your progress, right? I need to lose 5 kilos because that was the weight that I was when I fit into XYZ. Another example is if you're doing a challenge, for example, weight loss is considered successful. So what makes up what you see on the scale? Okay, I briefly touched on it just a second ago: water, muscle, and fat. Yeah. Even where you're at in your cycle is a huge role of what you will see on the scales. Your genetic bone size, how much you've eaten is a big one. Whether it's morning or night is another huge one. What you're wearing, if you've pooped, yes, that is a big one. So you can see quite a lot, guys. Your weight can fluctuate on the same day quite a lot, and there is absolutely no predetermined healthy weight. Even Googling your healthy weight, go and do it. It's going to show you, for most people, particularly if you train, that you're overweight, particularly if you've got a decent amount of muscle mass on you. So what's the scale even handy for? If you're going skydiving, that's a really good reason to weigh yourself, because it's probably worth knowing how much you weigh so the plane doesn't crash. If you're competing and you need to be in a certain weight category, and if you have a significant, I guess, amount of weight to gain or lose, it's probably a handy tool at the very start. Outside of it, it is super inconsistent and it gives a really false reading regarding your progress. If you've lost 5 or 10 kilos during a challenge, in so many freaking cases, almost half of that is going to be muscle. I can assure you that now, being somebody that has been involved in taking people through challenges for years. losing muscle is the absolute opposite to what we want to achieve, okay? The more muscle you have, the faster that your metabolism will work and the more food that you're going to be able to eat. So losing 5 kilograms of muscle is not fantastic for sustainable weight loss. When I personally first started training, I was just under 60 kilos. I was 57 kilos when I first started training. I now weigh close to 70, 69.2 or something the last time I hopped on the scales. And I'm in the same size clothes, the same jeans, top, dress, everything. The only difference is I feel like my clothes slightly different in different areas. My arms are a few centimeters bigger, my quads are bigger, my bum is bigger. But the point is I had to stop using the scales because it actually was holding me back. Now, I've been where you are, where you're stepping on the scales consistently and letting it affect your mood. I have been there. I actually had to proactively force myself to stop doing that and start trying different ways. And the result was that my progress was actually supercharged. If you're one of those people, I challenge you to take the batteries out or throw the whole damn scale in the bin, particularly if you don't need to weigh yourself. As soon as I started measuring how much muscle my body was made up of, how much fat, the circumference of my arms and, my other body parts, I wanted, those body parts that I wanted to grow or maybe reduce. Once I was effectively measuring these specific areas instead of just my overall body weight, I could tell straight away if something was working. And I could make my training very specific and my diet very specific based off real progress. When we're taught about nutrition and weighing our food, we don't throw the whole freaking roast chicken on the scales and tear off 200 grams, because in that 200 grams, there could be fat and bone and skin and seasoning. We select the breast or the thigh meat. So why would we accept it with our body? Why would we accept we weigh a certain amount, not knowing what it is actually made up of and just trying to reduce the overall weight? It doesn't make sense. So how can we track and measure our physical progress? Firstly, in-body scans are super unreliable. I just wanted to put it out there. We see them quite often at gyms and challenges. Often they're usually included in those packages. DEXA scans are usually the most accurate. They do cost a little bit more, but you can often get a really great deal. So just keep your eye out for that if that is important to you. Another option is the skin fold caliper test, but once again, that's one of those things that it's only as accurate as the person taking the measurements. So if you can, I'd possibly get the same person taking those skin measurements this time and the same person for the next time as well. Now, this is the most important and overlooked method of tracking your progress, okay? So now is the time that you guys really need to listen up. The way you feel. Okay, it sounds freaking crazy, but you guys need to trust me. Why? Okay, let me ask you a question. If you weighed 5 kilos less, but you felt like rubbish, you were starving, you weren't lean, you felt weak, and you couldn't think straight, would you be happy? No. But what if you weighed the same, you were leaner than you had ever been before, but your strength was consistently increasing? Your mood was excellent, your sleep was solid, your libido was where it should be, your energy had never been better, and your complexion had improved. Would you be happy? Of course you would. That's the best way to measure your progress. I have had my clients tracking all things to make sure that they're walking the path of progress in the right direction. They're tracking things that are actually accurately measuring progress. If these are not tracking in the right direction, it's also a really good indication that something is off and progress may be suffering because of it. There is so much more than food and exercise to health, like there is so much more than scales to progress. as I said before, I personally weigh just under 70 kilos, 60 kilos, no, 70 kilos. I actually haven't weighed myself for a couple of months because it doesn't matter. Most people think there is no way that I could weigh that much, and I never used to. Once upon a time, I was that 57 kilos, but I've simply put on 10 kilos of muscle over the past 6 or 7 years, and I'm continually getting stronger than I ever have. My sleep is solid, my complexion is so much better, my energy is great, my mood is great, my hunger levels are really steady now, and the byproduct, that is the byproduct of me being able to eat 2,000 to 2,500 calories per day while still maintaining a lean body, you know. This is true progress. So do you want to fit into a bikini for next summer? Or do you want to fit into a bikini for the next 10 more summers? It is possible, guys, to eat well and feel great and fit into your bikini or your dress or whatever it is. I like to use bikini as an analogy, but it doesn't have to be that. Guys, I think that's it. I think I've ranted a bit too much, but if you'd like to know more information, reach out and we can discuss where you're at, what your journey has looked like up until this point, and maybe the best option that you need to take moving forward, and not just for the next 8 weeks. But until next week, guys, have a great week.